Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I want to talk about Women's Month. Now, has any person heard of Women's Month? If you had, please leave it in my comment section. So, what I'm going to call this video is March, the month for women. March, the month for women. Now, as we go through the calendar, and we do this every year, we have Black History Month in February. And now there's Women's Month here in March. Now, something else that hasn't been said, but I also believe March is Single Parents Month as well. But now, with all that said, I have to ask this one question. How come there is not a men's month? I mean, today's modern woman cries about being equal, but when you live in a civilized society, you are allowed to have feminism. Now, there are a number of women out there who don't know what feminism really is. Well, feminism, from what it's supposed to do, is create equal opportunities for women. Now, I'm not saying women haven't played their part in society, but besides Claire Barton, who founded the Red Cross, and Marie Curie, who founded or who helped find penicillin, I just need to know, what advances have women really done in America? Because if you think about it, and we can even go back to ancient civilization, everything has been built by men. But when we get through this third wave of feminism, what I'm seeing is you have a number of women who haven't matured. They go to college. They look at a lot of liberal news. They love to spout their vitriol about men, and they don't even understand men, but they don't look at themselves. Now, I'm not saying all women, but when it comes to Women's Month, what have women actually produced to keep this country going? Now, no, there have been good female singers, particularly black singers like Diana Ross, the Queen of Disco, the late Donna Summer, Tammy Terrell. They've done good in that aspect. But what have they really invented? You see, when it comes to building things, designing things, men have always done that. But the question is, how come men don't have a month? Are men that bad? I mean, does the media put men in a bad spot? Because when it comes to a Woman's Month, and I even hear how women are ruling the world, and I got this from listening to a Chicago radio station, because I'm in the Chicago area, 106.3 WSRB. I believe her name was Nisi. She had it on there about women ruling the world. Well, what have they run? For the most part, if you look at the women mayors in this country, their cities are a disaster. We're talking about women who have run Baltimore, Gary, Indiana, Washington, D.C., New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, people like Stacey Abrams are a joke. She hasn't even conceded for the governor's race when she ran against the governor of Georgia. But let's put that away for a moment. When it comes to achievements, achievements are more than just going to college. They're more than just winning medals. Yes, they're achievements. But to me, a true achievement is, and let's put academics at the forefront, it's being able to take what you learn in school and applying it to the real world. And there are a number of women who can't do that. A number of women know what a professor tells them. They regurgitate what a professor, whether the professor is a feminist professor or whether the professor is a feminist lawyer like Gloria Allred. Certainly, they can read a book, but anybody can read a book if they want to read a book. But again, not everybody can comprehend that book. Now, again, I'm not slapping every woman, but we live in a cancel culture, and women accept a lot of these policies. I mean, you look at Mr. Potato Head. You look at the LGBTQ community. You look at all of the environment factors, the tree huggers, the flower girls. Women support all that. Animal rights. Women support all that. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have an impact on life, but as a man, we're very competitive. We go for the jugular to try to win. We adapt to different environments. Now, there was this guy named Bear Grylls. He put women on an island and he put men on an island. And the funny thing about this is when the men got together, they worked as a team. They knew how to create infrastructure by living off the land, whereas the women, they didn't. They were fighting one another. There was no leadership. And in a woman's island was a big chaos. And because it was so chaotic, and let me correct my grammar, the woman's island was very chaotic. And when you have dysfunction and chaos, nothing is ever going to get done. But I will say this. When it comes to men in this country, I'm not making men feel like they're victims because, for the most part, men, particularly Caucasian men who have power, have allowed this feminism to take place. They've allowed this political correctness to take place. And there are a number of men out here who are afraid of women. But when it comes to being red pill and MGTOW, we're not afraid of women. We're going to do what we need to do to continue our lives because we are about self-improvement. And when I watch a number of these shows with women on these panels, they act like they're big and bad. They act like they're running everything. But the funny thing about a number of women out here is their products that they have really aren't selling. And what I'm talking about is the WNBA. And if you think about it, the WNBA is for the most part sponsored by the NBA. Now, if women really want to make themselves known, start creating their own infrastructure. Stop talking like you've invented the infrastructure when it was already there in place. A lot of you women go to your offices every day and you're comfortable. And when you go to work, when you drink out of that water fountain, when you eat at a restaurant, the infrastructure is already there. Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't been some women who help design mechanisms, but when it comes to STEM, and the reason why I mention STEM so much is because STEM is what makes this country go. And when it comes to jobs, a number of women get a lot of administrative jobs. And let me prove this to you. If you go to college and you look at who your academic advisors are, they're mainly women. If you look at your teachers in elementary school, middle school, and high school, they're all female. So when boys go through their public education, they see nothing but females. In fact, boys are given Ritalin so they can sit down in their seats like women or like girls, because boys are a little bit more rambunctious. They want to take a football, they want to wrestle, but women, particularly this modern woman, believes all of that is toxic masculinity. So, with all that being said, where is a month for men? I mean, women are getting glory for doing what? Doing what we've always done? Now, I understand in the past, women stayed home. But a number of women have opportunities just like I have opportunities, but they're still bitching about what they're not getting. Now, as a man, it is our fault for giving them everything. You see, when it comes to entitlements, what I believe a number of women want is tradition by the man on one hand and modernization or this third wave of feminism on the other hand. So when we look at a month for women, what have women really achieved? I mean, certainly there are a number of entertainers who are women. There are a number of journalists who are women. Now, I know some women who participated as mathematicians in the movie Hidden Figures for NASA, but you cannot take an exception and make that the rule, or the exception does not fit the rule. And a number of women will go off a minority to try to explain the majority. But in the long run, when it comes to March being a woman's month, because again, I thought March was single parents month. Now, I have to ask this question. Are we going to give everybody a month of their own? I mean, we already have Black History Month, and I've done many videos on Black History Month. And the funny thing about it is, individuals, particularly in the black sector, they weren't interested in Black history. Now, again, what I believe is happening in this country, and it's been like this for the last I'm going to go back to the 90s and 2000s. We've been flipping everything upside down. We've been living under matriarchal specifications. Now, I know Sergeant Willie Pete pointed it out this morning, particularly in the African American community, where a number of African American women are very liberal, they're feminist. A number of them, they talk about masculinity, but a number of them are very masculine themselves. They talk about the education. They talk about how much superior they are to the African American man. But if you look at what they've accomplished, it's nothing but lip service. You see, a number of women have gotten where they've gotten through government. And here's an example: affirmative action. Affirmative action doesn't help all minorities. Affirmative action basically helps the white woman, and then it helps the black woman and the Hispanic woman. Because the real issues of why women are getting all the glory now, and guys, you might not want to hear this, and I'm not going to contradict myself on this, is women are consumers. A number of women are not investors. A number of women don't have businesses that make the world go. Now, I'm talking about engineering firms. I'm talking about construction companies, computer firms. Because when you go into the area of STEM is an arena that keeps this country running. Now, you have a number of women who are going into politics, like Kamala Harris. I'm not impressed by Kamala Harris. You have the squad with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And then you have other women. But for the most part, if you think about this, a number of women believe in socialist, communist policies. And when it comes to men, the reason why a number of them have a problem dating is because they don't like men. They don't understand men. They disrespect men. But they expect men to do things for them. So when it comes to Women's Month, I don't see what women have actually done. Now, I know the weak argument is out there, well, you came from a woman, but it took a man's seed to fertilize that egg so she could reproduce. Because for the most part, when it comes to a number of women, their only argument that they have is reproduction. They don't have anything when it comes to innovation and survival. And the only person that they could actually go to when it comes to innovation would be Marie Curie. Because if you think about it, a number of women are successful in a society that's already been built for them. They just don't know how to market their areas, like the WNBA. You see, if women want true respect from men, then women, a number of them, need to get off the government dole. Women vote for big government because big government is their ally. Now, the women with the common sense are a little bit more conservative in thinking. And see, with these modern feminists, they don't like patriarchy because patriarchy is conservative. And why is it conservative? Because you have to conserve your resources for the next day. You see, this modern woman, she only thinks about today. She doesn't think about tomorrow. And a number of them live in this world of fantasy. And to me, just because they have a job, an education, they're mothers. Yes, a mother is a thankless job if you're doing the job. Because a number of women who have kids today and foster kids, they're utilizing the money that they should get for the kids for themselves. But a number of women, if you think about it, although they've achieved in areas like music, some of them have been good lawyers, some of them have been good doctors, some of them have been good teachers. But if you're going to be recognized, you have to do something to make this country work. And too often, a number of women think about themselves. So when it comes to independence and feminism, it's basically about choice. You know, the woman that's not getting the award, who should get an award, what about the woman who's a wife, a mother? We're giving all the accolades to these feminist women who want the careers, who want the education, and they still don't understand the real world. They do not live in reality. That's the problem. Now, again, when it comes to a month, I need to know what women have actually contributed to this country, because for the most part, a number of them take from the government dole because they're taxpayers like me who pay for the programs. And see, women have all the safety nets. I mean, women can get the scholarships to go to school. There's Title IX for women. There's everything that the government does for them. But still, when it comes to sheer innovation, what about having a man's month? Because if you think about it, for the most part, men don't get anything from the government. Men look at the environment when it comes to survival, and they take on that environment using what resources that are existing, or they create new infrastructure. Whereas a number of women are sitting in a society that's already been built for them, and they're trying to take credit for building things that they never put a hand on, especially today. Because if you look around, you have a number of entitled women who think they're running the world. They're not running anything except an illusionary mind. Because let's look at television. The Equalizer. The Equalizer started out with a man on the show. Denzel Washington did it, and then a Caucasian man did it earlier. So now she's on that show. But she didn't create that show. Look at some of the superheroes. They were men. Now they're replacing them with women. And see, women are trying to have this tough exterior, but they really aren't tough. You see, social media government, education, which is indoctrination, feminism, has made this modern woman selfish and entitled. But when it comes to a woman's month, I'm not saying that women shouldn't be recognized for what they do, but why do they deserve a month? Men don't have a month. In fact, if you look at Father's Day, you get African American women, and I know Hallmark had a card out where the woman is the mother and the father. And when it comes to a number of women, they claim that they don't need men. Well, when everything is built for you, you need the man to come fix it. You don't need a man to give you money, but you still ask a man for his money. You still expect him to take you on dates. But in the long run, when it comes to innovation, most women in the past didn't design or construct everything or anything. And these women today, they're doing nothing but talking. In fact, many of them are going on social media, OnlyFans, making money off that one thing that God gave them, that body. But in the long run, that still does not give them carte blanche to have a month. Now, again, I will give shout out to some of the tennis players, like Billie Jean King. I don't care whether she was a lesbian or not. That's not the point. Some of the singers like Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross. Okay, in that arena, they did well for women's sports, but every woman can't be a singer. Every woman can't be a tennis player. Every woman can't be a basketball player. But if you think about it, in the long run, women haven't created anything to help this country go. But when you start giving women something for nothing, they're going to think that they're entitled to everything. And as a man, if we want to take our power back, then we need to start dismissing feminism. We need to stand up and not be afraid of saying, hey, look, we don't need a woman's month. There's no man's month. You see, women cry for equality. And when it comes to the double standards that go their way, they don't say anything about. But the double standards that are against them, they cry about. But I'm just saying, in the long run, if we keep giving all these groups special months to make them feel good, but at the end of the day, it's just what it is. It's feeling good. But when you live in the real world, you ask a number of these women, and you tell them to break it down with history. What have they created? Because as it looks right now, a number of women are running around like their shit doesn't stink, and they think they're better than men. But in the long run, they're living in a society that men built. And I'm talking about this modern, westernized woman, because she doesn't appreciate anything about a man. She thinks she's better than a man, but she's not out there doing jobs as a man. But she'll tell you, I can do everything a man can do. Well, if you can do everything a man can do, prove yourself. And if you prove yourself, you innovate something, and what you innovate is prosperous for everybody, then you'll deserve a month. I know individuals will say, Madam C.J. Walker, she only created something for black women, not for everybody. When a car was created, cars created for everybody. So, at the end of the day, as a man, should men have a month, or should we get rid of March as being a woman's month? Because if you look at the situation, men still run this world. Why? Because they innovate, and they have the resources, and they have the minds. And if you don't believe me, look around you. You see the infrastructure that's in place. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some education, check my channel out, The Mind of STEM. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you want more in-depth subjects that are too hot for YouTube, check out the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show on Blog Talk Radio. My guest calling number is 215-383-5785. And you can also donate through my PayPal. You can also donate through my Venmo or Cash App. The links are at the bottom of all of my videos. But if you can't find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, simply check me out on Twitter, MeWe, and Parler. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And again, this video is not to shit on women, but it's to let women know that, okay, when you innovate, you will get the respect you deserve. Because equality is about men and women coming together. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you to have a wonderful and blessed evening. God bless you. I'm out.